Hey everyone, welcome back to part 6 of working on the combine hopper. Well, we're here on the right hand side now. I got that panel piece. I'm going to grab my rivet gun and well, we'll get started putting that back on there and getting it mounted back in place. Alright, I got this end piece stuck on down here, well for now. Trickiest thing is though getting these ends where it overlaps, getting that to pop over because it fits kind of tight, so you just got to keep playing with it. I'll take a couple small punches up in these top rivet holes that we can kind of work it back and forth. And I'm actually going to go grab a plastic hammer, and that'll let me tap the bottom side here in more, and then I can start putting rivets into it. Alright, I got you setting up there. Let's see what happens. Well, I thought anyway. Well, I still don't want to go through there. Let's try the bottom. Well, maybe right there at that 90 or 45. There we go. Alright, that got the first rivet popped in. Now the tricky part is getting those right there, trying to get them lined up. So I'll probably take and maybe put a rivet over on that end, and it'll hold it in place, and then try and kind of bend things around and see if I can get those other holes to line up. Okay, I'm up here on the front corner now. Perfect. That shot right in. Like I say, the trickiest part of this is getting all these rivet holes to want to line up correctly. Now if I can just get my rivet gun to actually grip, be a lot better off. I think we're beginning to pinch down on it. There we go. That popped him out. Well, that's got it held in place by a rivet on each side on the corner here. So now the fun job though is getting them bottom, well, that right there, trying to get them bottom rivet holes lined up. For some reason, some of them are running off. Not sure why. Like that one. May have had to take a punch and jam in there and kind of walk them in place. There we go. Alrighty, got two small punches here trying to... Yeah, that's taking shape anyway. If you can work them together. Might be able to start getting a few rivets popped in there. they're kind of pinching, holding in place. I'll take a hammer and tap them in. Maybe that'll help kind of line things up better. Well, seemed to help a little bit, or so I thought. That's actually better if I can pull both of them up together. Yeah, I'll grab my rivet gun and we'll see what happens. Well, let's go right for that one in between those two punches. Now we'll pull up on that one. Hey, that let it pop in place and the punch fell out. Perfect. Well, that means it's doing something. Get them punches out of my hand or they're going to fall right back down the ground again. Okay. Once you can get one rivet started, it should help to hold the rest of the holes in place. All right. Well, I'm not going to show every one. Now, I just got to go down through here and keep getting them dropped in. Putting the last rivet here in on the back side of it. Ah, come on, grip. There we go. Alrighty. That's got these. Once you get most of them in, the last one or two, they pop in pretty easy. By that time, you got all your holes lined up. Okay, well, now we'll jump around the front side. Okay, well, here we are on the front. Yeah, those lined up perfect. And they're also blending in. It's kind of a dark aluminum colored rivet, and it matches right with the silver of the machine. That's odd. Huh. There we go. That one don't want to drop in too well for some reason. Well, maybe I'll work on that one last. Okay, same thing. Got to get the punches and start getting them holes walked in place. Well, I got a punch in there. Let's see if we can at least get... There we go. That got the first rivet started. Yeah. All right, that's got that one. Well, I'm not going to sit here and show you putting every rivet in the thing, but I'll bring you back in when I'm on the last one. Oh, I forgot to turn the camera back on when I got done with that bottom row, but it's just like over here, so no different. Now I've jumped up here the top line going across. Got 3 in. These here can be kind of tricky as well, trying to get those top holes that want to line up. Like that might just, oh, there we go. That can jump right in. All right, it's got one more. I just got to keep going across and get this top row finished up, and that'll be done. This rivet job will be done. All right, got the rivets all done. They're all in. Now I'm having to do the same thing on this side. like I did over on the left side. You can see we're not seating down, and my bolt holes are not wanting to line up. So I'm trying to get things in place, because when I'm actually ready to put bolts through, the auger is already going to be in here, along with the housing piece that goes right around here. And so I've got to try and get things lined up and pressed in place. I got that jack pushing up against, oh, I don't know if you can see it there too well. There's a black frame rail. In fact, it's actually what these rivets go into. So, let's see here. You might be able to see it begin to push down. Okay, yeah, there we go. Now it's beginning to... Uh-oh. I think my jack's out of oil. It stopped pumping. Well, it was going good for a while anyway. It did push it down. We're basically tightened up right around through there. And looks like for the most part that got those bolt holes lined up right back in there. So we'll see what happens here. Well, I've got that pressed down in there. The jack was out of oil, by the way. I just threw a little more oil into it, and now I've got that seated in there all the way in the bottom like the instructions say. So as you can see, some of these holes are lining up, some aren't. So when I get my pliers back out and go through and open them and finish opening them. In fact, you can see those two right there, they're off by about half a hole. That one and that one. And so on these, I'm going to go from the outside and shoot in. That way I can use the outside as a guide. That way I don't go and dig into this part of the hopper with the pliers. And that should help open everything all up good. And then we'll just have to see, once I get the auger in there, I should be able to take and put a punch through on this side and on this side, and basically bring them together, and it should push that floor back down. We'll wait and see. Also, I can probably take and draw up those two inside bolts, and that should help take and pull it down as well. But now I've got the forklift over there running. I'm going to get the pliers put onto it, and then that way I'm ready to start cutting. Got the pliers here on the pallet running, so got the ground cable hooked up, cutting head. So I'll take and trim them holes out, and I'll bring you back in when I'm done. Like I said, I don't gotta watch trying to video that. I don't want that electrical arc to mess up my camera. Alright, got them holes there all opened up with my plasma cutter, so that should give me some more room to work with. Now I'm gonna grab that auger and work on getting that put back in across the floor here. Okay, got the auger sitting here on the pallet. Now, the camera might sit there for a little while until it gets knocked over. Okay, there it's beginning to go onto the floor. Yeah, that's better. Once it gets on that stainless, it'll slide. It's almost easier to turn the auger and let it pull itself inside. There we go. Hey, that's easy. Yeah. Now that's more like it. That's got it stuck down in there. Don't look too bad so far. So I'll jump back inside and start checking things out. Alrighty, we're up here in the hopper now. Now I just gotta get that auger put onto that stub shaft right there. That you can see right there, it's got that carrier. So now I gotta get this thing worked over there, put up on there, and I'm hoping I can get on the other end with a big sledgehammer and a big block of wood and pop that on there. We'll see what happens. I got it up on that stub shaft. You can see how the auger is actually now off the floor. So now we got that on there. Gonna get me a big sledgehammer and a block of wood. We'll get down that end and see if we can get that groove on. I thought maybe turning it like that may take and help spin it onto that stub shaft. That did seem to move it. That thing's not exactly wanting to go too easy. I'll go on the other side and see if it's moved a whole lot. Okay, I think I found what the problem was. Had a bushing fall inside where this shaft goes onto the stub drive shaft. Now let's see if we can make things work better. Can't seem to go farther anyway. I'll go around and take a look on the other side. Okay, looking through this side hole over here on the auger elbow. The end of that auger shaft, it looks like it's actually hit the carrier, so good, that's what we want. Now, let's see, I'm going to actually have to take and start this combine up, get it moved over, that way I can put the auger back out and go up through this access panel and put them 2 1/2-inch bolts in that ties that auger onto that U-joint right there. I got you up inside the elbow. I'll show you putting the first bolt in. But that one just goes back on the back side the way I got that hole lined up. Well, it was lined up anyway. It's a pretty tight clearance. Alright, finally got that bolt hole lined up. Like I said, it's a tight clearance. Once you get the first bolt through, the second one should pop through and be alright. So you put your bolt through, you got this bushing that goes on here, like that. Get all the crud out of the threads. And I am going to take and put a little bit of blue Loctite on that. The blue is the medium strength. Okay, go ahead and get that started. I'll grab the Loctite. Okay, that'll work right there. Don't need much. Okay, my bolt's spinning, so no surprise here. But, I'm going to take the camera down out of there, put the other bolt through, get it lined up, and then tightening down. That should have it. All right. Got them bolts all tightened up. I think I showed taking them out, so you tighten them up the same way. Stick a 3/4 socket with an extension coming down out of this access door panel, and then just take and put a 3/4 inch up on top, that way the bolt can't turn, and that's got it. So I'm gonna put this cover on and jump back over to the other side of the machine. Back over here on the left side now. Oh, I mean the right hand side. Got the carrier plate, and right there is where the bearing and the flanges go. So let's see if I can get the camera hung up here somewhere. That's going to go up there just like that. That'll stay there, I know. Okay. Well, them holes are pretty much already all lined up. That's simple enough on that side. Problem is getting the bolts in. Well, I may have to resort to my old magnet trick. And let's see here, these bolts here, if I remember right, those are longer ones. I've got them laying down there on the step because of this frame piece. Now you can't see it. That goes over here, you can see the line. Okay, well, let me get some bolts, and I may take and grab a couple punches to throw through there, and that'll help take and hold everything in place. Well, it took a little finagling, but I got these 3 bolts in over here. These ones over here are a little bit longer because of that additional frame piece that goes across out there. And let's see, oh, there's my coffee can. Gotta have all my goodies to put back on there. And let's see. But what I did, I took and in fact, it's actually the same magnets that I used on the R72 when I put those helical bars in. I just took a magnet and put over top that bolt head on the inside. That way it would hold it in place until I can get everything in. So that seems to work pretty good. All right, got them on. I can pull these out now. Well, I'll get my 3 longer bolts and stick through there. And let's see here. This is that frame piece that comes around. That may have to go on last, because I've got a bolt here on the back, on the other end of it, where it bolts onto the clean grain elevator. And then, yeah, there we go. You can see how they match up right there. In fact, oh, screwdriver's too fat. Won't go through there. Jam that punch in there. At least let me get 2 of them put in, and it'll help hold everything in place. Then the carrier bearing, that will go on last. Okay, I'm going to get my long bolts, and we'll get 2 of these put in. I'll get the 3rd one in, then I'll bring you back in when I'm ready to get back to work on that bearing. All right, well, I got all the bolts tightened up, so we're good to go there. Got this frame piece. Here's the drive shaft that drives the unload auger coming through the machine. Got these 2 bolts here that bolted this end back on. At first, I thought these were actually a stud bolt just poked out. However, they actually go clear through the elevator and come out on this side in case you need to put a wrench back there. But I didn't have to. Once I started tightening them up, they held, and I was able to tighten them up without needing to put a wrench on the other end. And so that's got that. Now, got my bearing flange. Get that back. All right, there's the back one. I've already taken a little bit of sandpaper and help shine that up. There is a spacer right there. You can see that little spacer. Yeah, I guess so. I'm hitting my arm with my finger. So you'll want to make sure that stays on there and doesn't get lost. I'll get the bearing here dug out. And I actually just got this bearing here from Napa. In fact, if you can see that halfway decently, there's the bearing number. But this bearing, though, it's a lock collar, of course, and it's got an extended race on the back side of that. Right there's the side that your lock collar goes onto, and you can see how it extends out the back. That's what you want, because that extended race part is what butts up against that little spacer piece right there. Yeah, so what else? Know how to get a hammer and 2x4 out and get that thing knocked on there. Well, thought I'd try to grab the pry bar. And so far it's working. right through there, it's going on pretty easy. Just gotta be careful that you don't pound with the pry bar up here where the lock collar, it's like an eccentric. It gets pretty thin right there. You gotta watch. If you go and smack that, this here will pop up and over that. You'll go right into your grease seal and screw your bearing all up. Well, now the fun job. Get that dumb thing picked up and try and tap on it. Well, there it worked. I picked up on it and slid the bearing on by hand. That works too. Now, give it a couple good pops. Make sure it's seated in that flange good and tight. There we go. Well, found a tube of 6 instead. Okay, yeah, got it that far anyway. Now the fun job of getting it knocked on further down on there. Of course, it's got to fit tight. Something else, now I learned this here a couple of years ago, rebuilding the final drives on this combine. You can't do it on these bearings here because they have oil in them or grease, but just like a regular wheel bearing, if you're trying to get down over top of your a spindle or stub shaft, take and throw the thing into a get you an electric oven or even your kitchen oven. Heat that thing up to about 350 to 400 degrees and it will fall right on because of the expansion. Okay, well now I gotta go find something to fit just over top that shaft and work on getting it knocked on down there. And this thing's got a really weird flange. It's got a normal back flange, but this great big, it's like an oversized washer. Great big thick thing. And it's also directional, and so the hole here is kind of like a half rounded shape to match the outer race of the bearing. Oh, there we go. Well, now I gotta find all my hardware, put that thing back on and tightened up. And also, while you're at it, don't forget to put the lock ring on. Okay, there it's seated into place. Alrighty, we'll get these tightened up. Also, I just thought the reason why that's so thick like that, strength, because the auger is pushing grain out the tube on their side, so it's pushing against right here. A regular flange is not going to be strong enough, and so it needs a heavier flange to take the force of the auger pushing grain out. That's why this is so thick. Makes sense now? Alrighty. I don't want to break one little stud bolts off. There's that one. Alrighty. I'm gonna get me a punch. We'll tighten up that lock collar, and then we are ready for the sprocket. Just tighten up that lock collar, and you want to take and tighten that in reverse of travel. And so as we're looking into it here in the end, the sprocket is turning clockwise. You want to tighten this counterclockwise. And now on other things, I've tightened them back and forth either way. You set the little Allen screw, I've never had any trouble. But for something like this, because you're kicking in, especially like unloading on the go, where you're throwing in and the engine's running full RPM, you want that tightened opposite. That way there's no chance of that coming loose. Got the woodruff key here. That should work. Huh. We're right up against that lock collar. Well, let's see if we can take and throw the sprocket onto it and see what happens. I tried putting my woodruff key in. Problem is though, the auger must have, and or when I tightened it, it would take and kind of move that bearing just a fraction, because now my woodruff key is actually, when it seats down into that little channel, the end of it's going up and hitting into that lock collar, which means it's not letting it drop in all the way, and the sprocket won't go on. So the woodruff key is stuck up high enough that it won't go down the little track of the sprocket. So, I'm how to take and loosen that lock collar up and find out what's going on. Okay, I think that might have helped it. When I hit that, I could see the whole thing kind of shift in where it needed to be. So let's take and throw this back on. Must have a burr in there or something. Okay, we're up tight against the bearing. Hey, it did move about 1/8 of an inch. Now, should be able to drop this woodruff key down in there like it's supposed to. Yeah, there we go. Now it's seating in. Oh yeah. I got a good 1/8 inch between this lock collar now and the woodruff key. So I'm guessing it's just from tightening, it moved that bearing just a little bit. So now we're driven back up against that spacer. That's what you want. Okay, now let's see what happens when we put that sprocket on there. Hey, there we go. Okay, well, I want to take and get that work back off there if I can. Went on easy, came off hard. I'm going to get me a little bit of anti-seize and put on that, because I can see inside that previous owner had that thing off before because I can see anti-seize inside that. So I'm going to go ahead and put anti-seize back inside of it. Got my anti-seize on. Now we're ready to put the sprocket in place. There we go. There we are. Well, not quite that tight because we're actually, it bottomed out and hit those stud bolts. But I can look right through the set screw hole and I can see where the set screw is bottomed out and we're flush across the end. That's what you want. Okay, that'll work. Now we're ready for the set screws. Now the set screws, I am going to take and Loctite those in. Got my blue Loctite on. Get them both put in there. Then I got my square head socket. Those things are actually really nice. Because you can put them onto a square head set screw and use a ratchet as opposed to trying to use a crescent or an end wrench or something like that. Okay. Well, that's odd. I would have thought that thing would have, well, I guess with the elbow locked up over there, it's not going to do much. Generally, though, you can always take and flip them back and forth somewhat, but whatever. Well, I'll put the chain around here. That's pretty basic. I'm not even going to show that. Putting a chain on is putting a chain on, so they're all the same. All right, got the chain put on. Everything is all tightened up. I got those 2 3/8 bolts right back up there that go into the frame. Got them all tightened down. And so about the only thing I have left to do, oh, I got to get this push rod hooked back in. That's what holds the side here up. I've actually been using this 8-foot step ladder to hold it up because it's something good and stable that isn't going to go and kick out like if you're trying to use a board or something like that. So an 8-foot step ladder works perfect. And well, look at that. It's the exact perfect height. That stud bolt will go right back in there. All right, well, we'll go ahead and get him put back in. And hey, I think this job's about done. I'll bring you in when I'm about ready to start the machine, and I'll kick it in gear and we'll see what happens. Okay, I just backed out of the shed here. Got the auger out. Now before I put the power to it, after I unfolded the auger, I jumped over there and turned it by hand there where that sprocket is, where the chain goes on. Just make sure everything rolled good. And so everything's turned fine by hand, so let's hit the button. Well, sounds good. Let's jump topside. Well, you can't really see anything down there, but other than that, sounds good. I think we're good to go. Alright guys, well, I'm going to call this an end of the video. Everything sounds good, turns good, and that's what we want. So take care, thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you next time.